On today's show, who's the most interesting teams in NBA free agency coming up? What are the Chicago Bulls doing bringing back Nikola Vucevic? Why did the Clippers just get rid of Eric Gordon? We'll talk about all that and more on today's Locked On NBA. Let's go.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome. You are locked on to the NBA. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Be an everydayer. Subscribe, follow for free. Just search Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. The best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and comment anything below. Comment below. Who's your most interesting team in the NBA coming up this week? Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. That's prizepicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. And joining me, as always on a Thursday, host of Locked On Bulls. What you got for me, Pat the Designer?
I don't know what's worse, Chicago's air quality or the Bulls cap situation.
Hey.
I'm dying over here.
Hopefully you guys are doing okay up there in Chicago, Cleveland.
We're not.
The Cleveland guys had they weren't allowed to leave their house today. They had like an advisory warning.
Yeah, it hurts to laugh. It hurts to laugh. We will do it, but it hurts.
We will do an unfunny Locked On NBA today, where we will do Count It Up, where we counted up the most interesting, fun things in the NBA, including, did we catch Hugo the Hornet in a moment of honesty at the draft? Did Jordan Poole do anything else first before this when he got traded to the Washington Wizards? Tobias Harris says that the Sixers fans will trade him for a crumble cookie, and so we'll talk all about that and stuff coming up. But we're going to talk about our most interesting teams in NBA coming up and in free agency. Let's start with your Chicago Bulls, Pat the Designer. They make the move today to re-sign Nikola Vucevic for a 3-year, $20 million a year deal, so $60 million total. Your thoughts on the Chicago Bulls and why are they one of your most interesting teams?
I mean, for me, right now, there wasn't much they could do. They had to go out there and try to re-sign Vooch because at this point, right there, you weren't going to get any cap back if you didn't re-sign him. They were over the cap. They went over the cap to have him a part of their cap situation. So this was a no-brainer to me to bring him back. It allows you to have more assets possibly to move in the future. It allows you to have more assets on a guy with a very team-friendly deal. Remember, with the new CBA, with the salary cap going up, $20 million a year is not a bad contract for a center of Vooch's caliber. The Dallas Mavericks, I'm sure, would not mind having Nikola Vucevic down low to be able to grab rebounds for you. But I just... The Bulls are an interesting team because they've chosen the direction that they want to go. They've chosen the direction that they want to. We need to go forward. We need to try and figure this out, but they don't have a ton of cap space to do it. So I really want to see kind of how they're going to figure out how to add to this team that many people around the NBA are talking about blowing up. You've only got $12 million in cap space, basically, to go out there and find somebody. We saw that Eric Gordon became available. Maybe he's a name. And the Bulls have two things that they need that they basically need to find in one player: point guard play and shooting. So
good luck.
You got your Seth Currys. You got maybe an Eric Gordon in there. Yeah, I mean, like maybe, Dante DiVincenzo is more of a shooter, but I see a path that the Bulls can take out of this, but the tough part is financially, how are they going to do it? But AK has come out and he said, watch what we do in free agency. I'm watching. Which kind of makes me feel like we also are going to re-sign Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, Nikola Vucevic, full run it back. Let's go.
The classic GM, like, hey, watch out for us. We're not done yet. Nico Harrison did that for the Mavericks as well. So I've seen a lot of takes on this Vooch signing already today. On one hand, for me, 3 years, $20 million a year, that's good value for him. Like, I feel like that's a fair deal for a center that's 17, 11, and 3 assists, like literally the last 2 years. He's had the exact same stat line the last 2 years. But like, so on one hand, it's that. On the other hand, like, where are the Bulls going? Like, what direction are they going if they just bring back Vooch at this deal? They don't, make any other moves with Zach LaVine, it doesn't look like, or DeRozan, it doesn't look like. I think Howard Beck tweeted like a running man where they're just kind of running in place. It just seems like that's what they're doing. They're treading water. They're running in place. Is there a direction? Can they have a direction if they bring Vooch back on this deal? Like, are those things, can you have both of those things?
I think here's the thing. To me, you can have both of those things. You just have to find those pieces that are going to take that next step. And it starts with youth developing on your team. The Bulls' issue isn't that they don't have talent. It's that they don't have those other pieces that were supposed to take that next step. Like many teams in the NBA last season, they haven't taken that step. The Bulls have, I believe we counted it up today, have 7 players on this team under 25. And we have question marks on every single one of them. 5 of them aren't guys that we drafted this season, by the way. So I think that there's that aspect of you've got to try and get yourself better by somebody developing if you're willing to take this path. And for the Bulls to get to that next level, you got to have a P. Will. You got to have a Kobe White. You've got to have an Ayo Dosunmu. Start to move in that next direction, which is kind of how AK's wanted to build this. He said he wanted to build it through the draft. He said he wants to be able to have the youth come up through the Bulls system and be able to do it like many of the championship teams have done, like Denver did, like Golden State before them. The mindset is right. The tough part about it is that you've got to have that happen, and we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, it's like if you want to do that, you have to have good draft picks or any draft picks, and they didn't have one this past year. So it's hard to look at that and say see any kind of plan that looks like a direction, but it's an okay team on paper, right? They should be in like the play-in, like bottom end of the playoffs conversation.
Yeah, I think here's the thing, right? And this is what I've said on Locked On Bulls. 8 games, right? And most Bulls fans probably can find 8 games where they looked at and they said, "Wow, we really got screwed over on that one," or "Wow, we really like shot ourselves in the foot in that situation versus a team that we should have beat." If you could find a way to flip 8 of those games last season, it makes us a 5th seed, which is the area where Michael Reinsdorf has said the Chicago Bulls are more willing to go into the luxury tax. Between 4th and 6th, the Bulls are going to go into the tax to try and add to that team. You're not in that position right now. So you have to go into this offseason trying to find a player to add with Vooch, Zach LaVine. I don't know if DeMar DeRozan is a lock yet, but it kind of feels that way. But DeMar DeRozan being a part of that, and you have to say, is there a guy that can get me 8 games and or at least 5 games? 5 games get you to the 6th seed. Is there a guy that helps me get to 8 games? Is there a guy that brings that leadership dynamic to this Bulls team? You can add to this team and be fine. You just have to be realistic about what this team is going to be. They're not going to win a championship next season. There's not going to be a Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler type of run. There's going to be a more competitive Bulls team, very much like the team that we saw 2 years ago at the very beginning and kind of at the end of this season with Patrick Beverley, that hopefully gets you more wins than losses.
Another team that I'm interested in is the Los Angeles Clippers. I said this before the Eric Gordon trade and the Eric Gordon move happened tonight, but Adrian Wojnarowski reports that the Clippers aren't guaranteeing Eric Gordon's $21 million contract. He'll become a free agent. This was semi-expected. This will save the Clippers $110 million in luxury tax just on Eric Gordon's contract. So the Clippers are interesting to me because of this Eric Gordon move. It's literally just to save money, right? Like that's really the only reason you do it. He was useful for them last year. He played like some backup point guard minutes. So you were talking about a guy that can shoot and play a little point. Eric Gordon seems like a guy that would really fit with what the Bulls want to do. But they just have too many guys. Like for this new CBA that came out and dropped today, I have it open on a tab on my computer. Will I read all 676 pages? No, but I'll reference it. I'll reference it every once in a while. You mark it up with highlighter, but so. They have $203 million in salaries that they had to figure out. Eric Gordon's now becomes non-guaranteed, so you take that down to 180 in that. But they still have a bunch of stuff to figure out. They have already tried to trade Marcus Morris for Malcolm Brogdon. That didn't work. They've got this new stadium that's opening up, and we already know that Brandon Miller called Paul George his GOAT.
My GOAT of basketball is Paul George.
So that happened to them this offseason. Zach Lowe was talking about on his podcast that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George may not get their 4-year max contracts like they want. Howard Beck talked about on Locked On Clippers that he was suggesting that Paul George was in play and that everything he's heard said Paul George, is certainly available for that. Like there's some rumble. Howard Beck also reported there's rumblings for a while that Ty Lue may be getting impatient with the situation. There's just rumblings all across with the Clippers, and I just don't know where they're going or what other moves that they can make. Do they just run it back, sign Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to like 2-year, 3-year deals or something like that, and just say, hey, we got to have at least a competitive team because we've got this new stadium opening up soon?
Well, I think that's the tough question that you have to figure out, because realistically, if I don't bring one of them back, the fear is that the other one's going to be injured. At least you've kind of had this revolving door of like, okay, Kawhi's down now, we got PG. Okay, PG's down now, Kawhi's coming back. Okay, they're both down now. Hey, Russell Westbrook. You know what I mean? Like there's been kind of like that revolving door of ways to keep the Clippers competitive. And I think that's really the biggest focal point for the Clippers right now. How do we stay competitive while still remaining a contender? For me, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a sign and trade possibly with a guy like Paul George, and or I doubt it's going to be Kawhi. I think it would have to be a guy like Paul George. I think that would be a really interesting move for the Clippers to make, because in that sense, you're getting good value back. You're probably adding a little more depth. You're going all in on Kawhi Leonard, which may not be your best case scenario, but heck, even Paul George has talked about Kawhi Leonard as when he's on the court and he's 100% and ready to go, he's pretty much unstoppable. So that's not the player that you want to get rid of if you're the Clippers. I think for me with this Clippers team, the biggest thing that they can do is just try and get some stability at that point guard position. Finally, it feels like they have that a little bit with some of the moves they've already made this offseason, but that's a question mark that we continue to have every single offseason. Like, and we go into every season with this Clippers team and say, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, love that. How many point guards are they going to trade for this season?
Yeah, so that's why they're one of my most interesting teams to see what they decide to do, because they could make some huge moves, like trade Paul George, like you said, or like not sign Kawhi Leonard to a deal, and you're like, oh, all of a sudden we're looming on this. Kawhi Leonard could be a free agent situation. So that's a team I'm definitely watching. Coming up, we've got a couple more. I'm interested in the Houston Rockets, and you're interested in the Atlanta Hawks. We're going to talk about them coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Go check out Prize Picks, where you can pick players, 2 to 6 players, and if they go score more or less in their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. For example, you can go check out in the MLB. They have a hitter fantasy score. You can pick, over or under, more or less than that. So for the Rangers, they're playing the Tigers. Corey Seager, 8.0 hitter fantasy score. I'm going to go a little under on that one. Marcus Semien, I'm going to go over on the 8. If I just do those two right there on the Rangers, I want to put a little something on the Rangers so that I'm interested in watching the game. There's a little something on it. It's a little more fun. If I put down $20 on that, I could win $60. If I put down like $5, I could win $15 if both of those hit. Like, just some fun stuff that you can do on that. So go check out Prize Picks. You can also get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. Again, check it out. Download the Prize Picks app. Go to prizepicks.com and sign up and play daily fantasy sports. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for instant deposit match up to $100. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA, being part of this show, supporting the network. We appreciate you. We have a daily, 5-day-a-week show on your favorite team every day. Go check out Locked On Bulls with Pat the Designer and Hayes, talking about the Vooch contract today. Go check out Locked On Mavs. We're talking about all kinds of Mavs scenarios and rumors and things like that. So go check out those shows. All right, Pat, let's get back to our teams that we're most interested in. I just talked about the Clippers. What do we think about the Atlanta Hawks this summer?
I think the Hawks are in a very interesting situation because finally, my God, finally, John Collins is no longer an Atlanta Hawk. But you got Rudy Gay. You didn't really get anything back for him. You don't really look at this Hawks team and have all of the answers. Remember, DeJounte Murray was possibly a guy who could be up for being moved. If they go that far in, that would be a real surprise to me, but maybe they end up trying to trade him away because they know that he might end up walking away for nothing at the end of all of this. But I think that they're a team that could be aligned for 2 players who maybe at least one to me that adds a little bit of an edge to that team because the other one you know very well. But to me, Grant Williams would be a perfect target down there for him, still being able to pair him next to Clint Capella. I think he moves really well. I think he would be able to play off of kind of those 2 in DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, very well. And he's a guy that gives you more opportunities at more shots. Trae Young and DeJounte Murray will never turn that down.
You think the Hawks are going to add somebody? Because to me, their whole thing was we need to cut money because we don't want to be a luxury tax team. They have 151 in salaries already. They've got too many guys already. Like this is 151 without Kobe Buffkin, like on the team already. I just don't see like the pathway for minutes with this team really. With all like they just have too many guys right now. They have Trae Young and DeJounte Murray in the backcourt, Kobe Buffkin coming off the bench there, AJ Griffin coming off the bench there. Jalen Johnson is now going to get some opportunity with John Collins gone. You got two centers, you've got multiple wings, you've got Bogdanovich, you've got DeAndre Hunter that they may still move, Sadiq Bey. Like you've just got a bunch of stuff going on. Like I don't know that they need to add more stuff to what's going on. And I don't think they will because of their luxury tax situation.
Here's my thing with it. You got to know that DeJounte Murray works because of what you gave up on him, and you got to know 100%. None of those names tell me that this is going to help this Hawks team move in the right direction. I guess John Collins doesn't either, right? Like it's not like John Collins was out there dominating for them at the end of all of this. But I think that you have to try and put yourself in a position to get further than just the play-in tournament, to do more than just the play-in tournament, especially in the second season. With DeJounte Murray, I just don't think that team right now is currently constructed as the answer to doing that. So I think that you have to add, if that means cutting bait with some other guys, trading guys away, trying to move on from pieces, you've got to try to add something to this team to make you more competitive. At least, at a minimum, what I could say about my Bulls is they're going to try to add. It feels like the Hawks are just literally going to go, well, we got DeJounte, though. Yeah, for how long? Like, is the plan to actually keep him there?
Like, they've got this year with all these guys. Like, I don't think they add anything significant to any of these guys, to be honest. And then you have next year where DeJounte's a free agent, Okongwu is a restricted free agent. You have Sadiq Bey's a restricted free agent, and then so they have to make a decision on those three guys to figure out what they want to do after that. They have Hunter's deal still, Bogdanovich's deal still, Capello making $20 million. Like I think they may cut more than cut less at this. And I think your bet if you're the Hawks is, all right, can Quinn Snyder make this make sense? Right? We've got all this stuff. Can Quinn Snyder come in and make this make sense? I think that's what they do. So that's why I'm kind of interested in the Atlanta Hawks, is to figure out how they make it make sense.
Yeah, I think your problem with them is, though, that at the end of the day, you got to make it make sense, and you got to make it work DeJounte Murray wanting to be there. Remember, he didn't pick Atlanta. He got traded there.
And he's unrestricted. It's not like he's coming to the end of a restricted deal here, or he's got
something. We can use you in Chicago, brother. We can use you in Chicago.
Use him anywhere. Another team I'm interested in is the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets are reportedly looking at Fred VanVleet for 2 years, $83 million, which sounds like an insane number. It is, but they're going to overpay, or at least reportedly going to overpay him to come in and be the vet point guard with this really young group. Like their starting lineup could play in summer league, besides maybe like Şengün and Jalen Green. Like they could all play there. They're also connected to Dylan Brooks, which doesn't make any sense to me. And they have, again, this super, super young team where you've got talent all over the place. You've got Ime Udoka has his work cut out for him to me. If they're going to add Fred VanVleet to this, and let's say they add VanVleet and Dylan Brooks because they've got the money to do it, they add both of those guys. Where's the ball? Like, where's the ball going? You want to talk about, well, with got Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, there's only one ball. How about there's only one ball for this Houston Rockets team? Like, well, who's getting, like, is Amen Thompson giving the ball up? Is Cam Whitmore going to be the steal of the draft if he doesn't get the ball? Is Jalen Green going to get the ball? Where does Jabari Smith get the ball? Şengün's the one that should have the ball in his hands. I think we're going to make your Rockets point every time. But we always know that. This is to me why they're an interesting team, because I get adding Fred VanVleet. I think that's a good move to add a vet point guard if you could do that. It's been to a championship that maybe helps them like sort all this out. But to add Dylan Brooks to that doesn't make any sense. And then the team just in general just has so many pieces and so many chefs that I don't know what they're cooking up over there.
Nothing makes sense with the Houston Rockets. We're still in the same spot we were with the Houston Rockets last offseason. We're in the same spot we were 2 off seasons ago. This is why I say that the whole tanking and trying to just be at the bottom of the league and all that doesn't get you anywhere, because you don't know what you have at the end of all of this. Houston Rockets have been bad for since James Harden left, they've added young pieces every year, and they just don't utilize half of them. And the ones that they do use, they're just like, they don't really have a system for you, so just do whatever you want to do. And now you're going to add Fred VanVleet into that cast. There's a reason that Aaron Gordon said last season while he was on the Rockets, there is no improvement. You know what I mean? Like, and so for me, it's one of those situations that the Rockets are in now where I see, okay, Ime Udoka's there. Maybe there's going to be some more organized chaos here, but the Rockets are going to be in a tough situation going into free agency because why the heck would I want to be there? Yeah, you can pay me as much as you want.
Because they're going to pay him $40 million a year to be there.
Hey, listen,
I mean, that's why.
If I'm Fred VanVleet, do I want to go to a situation where even
I'm
though
getting paid $40 million for 2 years? Yeah.
For 20 wins?
Sure.
Solid 20 wins.
Okay, they got 22 wins last year. They bring in Amen Thompson. They bring in Fred VanVleet. They have Ime Udoka, who's I think is going to be a better coach than Silas. Like, they're going to win more than 20 games. But if they win 10 more, they get to 32. Is that super exciting? Like, is that super exciting for you? I don't know about that. But can he make it make sense? And can either of those guys, Ime Udoka or Fred VanVleet, make it make sense?
And remember, VanVleet's not the pinnacle of efficiency out here. So it's not like he's coming down there to give you 40% from three, 50% from the field. You know what I mean? Like he's coming down there to give you 36% from both.
They've just got too many guys that need the ball. Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, Alfred Şengün, Josh Christopher, Ty Washington, Amen Thompson, like Cam Whitmore.
Makes sense.
Like it's just a lot of guys that need to make the ball. So that's why, to me, they're one of the more interesting teams. Coming up, let's get to Count It Up.
Count it up.
We talk about the most interesting, fun things in the NBA, including Hugo the Hornet caught in a moment of honesty, Jordan Poole doing the most, the earliest, and Tobias Harris the crumble cookie. Talk about that coming up. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA. We will be back tomorrow with Wes Goldberg and Adam Mares talking through free agency. We'll also have a bunch of shows all throughout free agency, too. We'll probably have a bunch of team shows that do shows about, free agency moves that get made. So enjoy that and go check that out. And Summer League is coming. I'm excited about that. I'm going. Yeah. I'm going to Summer League, and I'm very excited about it. All right, Pat, it's that time.
Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it.
Where we count out the most interesting, fun things in the NBA, including Adam Silver gets up to the podium to announce that the second pick is Brandon Miller. He announces it's Brandon Miller, and there were Hornets fans in the crowd that booed. There was a big faction of them that booed the pick, just like Kristaps Porzingis in the past, and others had been booed at the draft. Oh, yeah. But a camera zooms over to Hugo the Hornet, who's in the crowd, the mascot for the Hornets, the big, teal Hornet. He's there. It gets announced Brandon Miller throws his hands up in the air and then down, and then he falls to his knees, and his head is like as far down as it can be. And I'm just curious.
Count it up.
Do you think we caught the person inside the mascot in a moment of honesty, or do you think that this was caught off guard, like that this was out of context in some way?
Oh no, we absolutely caught a guy who's like a lifelong Hornets fan, and which is a wild thing to say, by the way. A lifelong Hornets fan is insane.
Hey, we've got two of them over on Lockdown Hornets, so good.
Boom. But who's a lifelong Hornets fan who basically wears the suit so he can be closer to the team. I don't know, but he definitely was being 110% honest, and he was like side gig. He probably makes like $90,000 a year.
I need to know.
He probably makes a good chunk of change, dog. I know Benny makes a good amount of money.
Okay, according to
Benny the Bull makes really good money.
According to Basketball Network, Hugo the Hornet makes $100,000 annually.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not even surprised by that. Let me see. And this is the tough part. He's not even a good mascot. Benny the Bull makes $400,000 a year. Benny does a lot. Hey,
wait. $400,000 a year for Benny the Bull.
Count it up.
Overpay or underpay?
That's probably apt. Benny does a lot of stuff throughout the year. That's right. That's right on the money line.
Apt.
That's apt.
can't say app. Yeah, we caught the guy inside Hugo the Hornet in a moment of honesty there, where he definitely wanted Scoot Henderson. He talked himself into it. He was listening to Locked On Hornets and Doug Branson, who wanted Scoot Henderson, and then when he heard Brendan Miller, because he's not checking Twitter,
what he's doing in the suit,
he wasn't checking Twitter, right? He's in a mascot costume, so
I don't know. The inside of those costumes is pretty high tech. He might have a little TV in there, might have a little Twitter scroll.
The Disney ones are air conditioned now.
I think the NBA ones are too.
Yeah,
maybe not Betty's though.
Well, we know the Gorilla's probably not. The Gorilla's probably not. It's too small, but the Hugo one's big enough. After getting traded to the Washington Wizards, Jordan Poole used the opportunity to instantly unfollow Draymond Green. Instantly unfollow him on Instagram. My question is,
Count it up.
How many things do you think Jordan Poole did before unfollowing Draymond Green as soon as he saw the news? Anything? Is there 0 things he did, or is that the first thing he did?
I definitely tried to call Ice Spice again and let her know where he's going to be.
Oof.
I don't know, man. I mean, Jordan Poole's an interesting dude, man. So there's probably a plethora of things that he did beforehand.
I think he's on the phone. He sees the tweet and he goes, I'm free.
I feel like it was more of a scrolling through Instagram, and you were like, "Oh yeah, this guy pops." It was like Draymond with the kid.
His story comes up. Yeah,
he's like, forget that baby, and like unfollows him or something like that. Like I can see Jordan Poole doing that. Yeah, man. Keep your head low, Jordan.
So funny. Tobias Harris was recently asked about his situation with the Sixers, and he said, casual fans, they'll trade me for a crumble cookie. He then went on to say a couple of things that aren't true about himself as a player. But then Crumble Cookies actually quote tweeted the quote graphic and said, if Tobias Harris stays with the Sixers, everyone in Philly gets a free crumble cookie. My question is,
Count it up.
How many caps are you giving Crumble Cookies that they'll give everyone in Philly a free crumble?
Everyone in Philly?
Everyone in Philly a free crumble if he stays. Like, he's under contract.
What's the population of Philadelphia here? 1 point.
I was looking up the price of a crumble cookie.
5.7 million. How much is a crumble cookie?
Why do they make this website so good? Just give me a menu. Come on.
The fact that there's a menu on this.
Oh, you haven't done this is all the different. They have milk chocolate chip, wedding cake, peanut butter blossom, galaxy brownie, fruit pizza. Who's doing? I gotta know.
Fruit pizza.
Pink sugar. They got all kinds of different ones.
Get traded, Tobias. Get traded to spare the people of Philly here.
You go to curbside pickup and it's like, well, you got to do it on the app. No, I want to do it right now. We gotta have an option for you to skip the menu. But hey,
it's getting too lengthy for the bit. But 1.57 million people. Let's say that's $2 a cookie.
I think it's more.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for cookies out here. I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I'm giving them all the caps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Their regular cookies are $4.25 a cookie.
so I can't do it. 4 million plus. I know 4 times 1.
And also, they said it if he stays. What do you mean if he stays? He's under contract next year.
Well, I think we know what the plan is.
You work with the radio stations. You know all the different like things they have to do for a contest, right? Like they have to do all these disclaimers for a contest. There's no disclaimer for this crumble cookie contest. So I'm giving them all the caps. Take this cap off my head right now.
Yeah. That, by the way, it works out to 6.375 million
in cookies will be given out if Tobias Harris.
You want to bankrupt yourself? There you go.
Just stays where he's supposed to.
Remember Crumble Cookie? They were a great company, and then Tobias stuck around, and they just folded.
I think he's a spokesperson for them too. So this is kind of like a synergistic, advertising. So it's okay. Here we go. Yeah. Last one here. Mike Finger, who is of the San Antonio Express News, a reporter, had a report about Victor Wembanyama, and this is how he described them measuring his height. You're not ready for this. Wembanyama took off. Here, let me do it. Should I do it in my journalistic voice?
No, let's do it.
Wembanyama took off his shoes, straightened his back, stood still, and allowed his new employers to take a true scientific accounting of the distance between the top of his scalp and the soles of his feet. The exact number, per Spurs official, 7 feet, 3.5 inches.
Count it up.
How much did we need all of that to be said when you're just saying they measured Victor Wembanyama?
What are we getting the details on this for? Was there a massage that went on during this or something? Like,
took a true scientific accounting of the distance between the top of his scalp.
And here's the thing.
Oh, wait, here's the thing.
Count it up.
Is he on a word count?
You gotta be at a minimum 300 words. Here's my issue with it. Yeah, that's usually how tall. That's how math works. If he takes his shoes off.
That's just how measuring works.
Like, why are we surprised about it? He's actually 7'3". He's wearing shoes on the court. It's not like he's barefoot out there. He's not flopping his feet on the court out here.
Do you believe the true scientific accounting of his height, that he's 7'3" and 1/2 inches?
Sure, let's go with it. Who cares? Like he's very, very tall. He's taller than most people will ever be on each other's shoulders, and he also walks like the kids from Little Rascals in the coat.
Yeah, they're all stacked up on each other.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Amazing stuff. All right, go check out all the Locked On shows that are covering your team every day in the description below. Also, go check out Bulls. Go check out Locked On Mavs. All kinds of great stuff. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA.
Bye-bye.
Boom!